Hello everyone, my name is Quil. If you're new to my channel, welcome to Quil's Corner. Today I'm doing something a little bit different. I don't know if you want to call it like a rant, because it's not really like angry, but I guess it's kind of like a story time because I'm just going to be like painting. I'm working on this bag, which is a canvas bag that I'm kind of converting into like a reusable shopping bag for my husband's cousin. And right now, we're actually stuck in a lockdown and part of social distancing and just trying to stay safe at like grocery stores and public places. A lot of places that I've been going don't actually let you use reusable shopping bags right now. So I know that's really hard, especially for everybody involved in the zero waste movement. It is for me because I just don't like wasting bags, and I do reuse them when I have them in my home, so that's not really a huge deal, but the less that I have to do that, the better. Today, I'm just working on a project because I'm stuck in the house. Let me know in the comments below what kind of projects you guys have been working on. I know a lot of people have been super creative lately, even people who aren't normally doing fun projects like art related or cooking related. They're really getting into it now because they just have so much time on their hands. So I thought today would be a really cool day to just talk to you guys while I'm doing my little project. And I think it would be really fun to do different like little themes for like a series where I'm painting or doing like an art project or something and I'm talking to you guys. So if you guys want to know about anything specific, definitely let me know in the comments below. Today I'm going to be talking about my vegetarian journey. If you are a vegetarian, or if you're thinking about vegetarian, or thinking about vegetarian, thinking about becoming a vegetarian, this might be kind of fun for you to listen to because first I'm going to start off with my personal journey, how I became a vegetarian and why. And then I'm going to talk to you guys about some common misconceptions that people have about being a vegetarian that I've just kind of heard over the years. And then I'm going to share with you guys in the end some tips about being a vegetarian or starting to become a vegetarian. And these are things you can think about even if you don't plan on becoming a vegetarian, but even if you just have like vegetarian friends. So you just kind of know what it's like to be a vegetarian. And yeah, so I'll get started with that. I became a vegetarian when I was 11. I actually started out being completely vegan. I cut out all animal products, and it was for a couple of reasons. One of my biggest inspirations was actually a character named Chelsea from That's So Raven. All you 90s babies should know exactly what I'm talking about. That crazy, quirky redhead girl. She was a huge inspiration for me. I used to want to be a vegetarian just because I felt bad. Like people, adults in general, like would just say really dumb, like uneducated things like while they were talking to me, like, oh, every time you eat a hamburger, like a cow dies or something like that. And it's so stupid because it's like, why would you tell that to a little kid? Like, obviously that's going to make them feel some kind of way about it. And it just kind of bothered me because it was like, well, yeah, I have these people that are in my life that are adults that should know better. And it's like, well, if you know, then why are you doing it yourself? Like, are you just trying to make me feel bad for no reason? It didn't really make any sense to me. And then, like, I would just hear about things like factory farming and how inhumane it was. And yeah, I get, like, most of humanity has eaten meat, like, killing for our food and things like that is something that's always been done in history. But it's not necessary, especially, like, in our time. We have so much advancement in, like, agriculture and things like that. And not everybody has to live off meat. And so I just learned a lot about it, and I took a long time to really decide that I wanted to do it before I came out. I came out as vegetarian to my parents. How funny does that sound? But no, like I actually didn't know that that was a choice that I had. I didn't know that I could just decide what I wanted to eat because I was being provided for by my parents. And so when I first came out to my parents as a vegetarian, they were pretty accepting of it. And my mom actually tried for like 2 months to get the whole family on board because she thought it was healthier, which was really nice. But nobody in my house knew how to be a vegetarian. Like we were pretty much like the standard like meat and potatoes and vegetables family. And so like when everybody became vegetarian, we like thought we had like all these like new foods we had to eat. And so my mom did really funny things. Like she tried making tofu tacos. And those turned out so terrible because basically, like, she didn't know how to cook tofu. So she just, like, mashed it up with, like, some taco seasonings and shoved it in a taco. So it was super, like, watery and slimy. And it was really, I mean, the taste wasn't bad because it tasted like taco, but it was not the best texture-wise. And, like, once they kind of gave up on trying to become a vegetarian, like as my family as a whole, I was kind of on my own for a while. And I really wasn't vegetarian. I was totally vegan. So because I was a kid, I didn't really know much about nutrition. So rather than just eating healthy foods and substituting things in my diet that I would have gotten from meat products, I just cut out everything I knew I couldn't have and I ate what was left over. And what was really bad about that is I wasn't getting everything that I needed for my body. And I did that for like a year. I would just eat like sides that I knew were vegetarian. And it was some troubleshooting. Like for a while, like I didn't really know what was in everything. So like for example, at school one day, I had like a donut and some milk. And I didn't really realize it was animal products until one of my classmates, like a peer, pointed it out. And I kind of beat myself up about it. And that's really hard being a kid because I felt like I had a really huge responsibility to the animals. And I just felt like by eating things that were made from them, I was so bad. Like I was a bad person for doing it. And that's such a terrible thing to feel as a kid, like as a person in general. It's just a really hard feeling to pin all of that responsibility onto yourself like that. And so I finally became completely vegan like for a year. And then I was always getting headaches. That was the first year that I ever passed out. I do pass out every once in a while because I have low blood pressure. But when I was 11, I think it was that summer, I remember walking into my room and I had just come in from playing outside and I was walking and I couldn't stop walking. I like hit the wall and then fell on the ground. And I came out to my mom into the front room and I was like, I think I passed out and I needed to like drink some water and things like that. And I kept getting really bad migraines. And so I talked to my mom about it and I was like, I feel like I'm not getting what I need from being vegan. And so maybe I should just go back to eating meat. And I ended up eating meat for one day. The next day, I don't remember what I ate all day, but I do remember dinner was pork chops. I remember that because there was a slice of cheese on top. And I don't remember everything else that I ate. I just remember that I had pork chops. And I remember feeling so guilty and disgusting with myself. And I was like, I can't do it. I cannot eat meat. Like, that's just not something that I'm willing to do. And so rather than going back to eating meat, I became a lacto-ovo vegetarian, which if you don't know what lacto-ovo vegetarian means, it just means that you eat a mostly plant-based diet, but you consume eggs and you consume cheese. So I started feeling way better once I incorporated those things into my diet. And by that time, like, I started really researching, like, nutrition. I started going to, it's called Veggie Fest. I'm sure it probably still exists, but I haven't gone since I was that young. I was, like, a middle schooler. But it's, like, a huge vegetarian convention that we have here in Washington State where a whole bunch of vendors come and you can go and you can listen to like different community members talk about being a vegetarian, and they have like different vegetarian products like vegetarian donuts and vegan donuts and like meat substitutes like hot dogs and things like that. Like if you go there and you're vegetarian, everything is safe to eat, which is really awesome. So you basically just spend the day there, get a bunch of information from different places in the community, and it's really cool. I like it a lot. If it is still a thing, I should probably look into it. I would like to go again. But yeah, like I went when I was younger and I researched a lot. I heard about PETA. That's like a whole other like story time. Like I can tell you guys a lot about PETA. I'm not going to say I'm for or against them in this video. But I did learn a lot about PETA. And I now currently, I'm going to give away my age. I'll be 26 in about a month. I actually do eat fish now. And I don't promote myself as a pescatarian, which is what most people will consider themselves if they eat fish, because I specifically eat fish. And when you say pescatarian to someone, they think you eat seafood. And that becomes a problem because I don't eat any crustaceans, I don't eat lobster, I don't eat clams, I don't eat shrimp, I don't eat octopi or octopods or whatever you want to call them. I don't eat anything like that, like sea creature wise. I will only specifically eat fish. And my reason for that is because I do have health problems. And that's a huge thing for me, is that when you talk about being a vegetarian, most of the time people's purpose, if not for health reasons, is for the nature of suffering and trying to end that suffering. And when you think about the impact that you have on the environment and on other people and on animals, having a plant-based diet is a lot less suffering than having a meat-based diet. So for me, I have a joint condition, which is called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which I can do a whole story time about that too, if you guys want to hear more about what that means. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, so I have severe joint pain. I also get really bad migraines. And when I was, probably, I may have been like 22 or 23, I had a supervisor who was trying to help me troubleshoot about what was going on. And she read an article about, what are they called? Omega-3 vitamins or omega-3 oils or whatever. So apparently you can get different forms of omega oils from plants and different forms of omega oils from fish. And some of these omega oils only come from fish. And the problem that I was having is that your joints and your brain needs certain types of oils and vitamins that I just wasn't giving it. And so I had to pray about it for a really long time because I really didn't feel comfortable eating an animal. I would eat things that came from an animal, and that was something that I had decided was maybe not the best, but it worked for just giving me what I wanted in terms of minimizing the effects that I had on suffering, but yet still helping my body grow and be healthy. And so when I decided to eat fish, it took a really long time for me, and I kind of justified it by the fact that Jesus ate fish. And so it was like, well, if he ate fish, I guess I'll eat fish. But really, I could do that with anything. I could be like, well, he was Jewish, so I can eat lambs. But I'm really not trying to justify eating an animal. That's not what I'm trying to do. It's that I'm trying to make myself healthy and minimize the suffering of others. And if I'm suffering myself, I really can't help others. And that's what I really had to bring it down to, is that I can either sit here and suffer and have migraines all the time and be grumpy, or not be able to use my body to help out because I'm suffering myself, or I can cause a little bit of suffering, minimal suffering, and I can be of better use to my community and my family and animals and plants and everything else. And so I decided to eat fish, and I did that for probably about 3 years, and I wasn't super excessive about it. When people ask me what I eat, I still say that I'm a vegetarian because, like I said, I don't want people to assume that I can eat like shrimp fried rice or something like that. But for the most part, I'm a vegetarian who eats fish, essentially. And people identify as different things. You can call yourself whatever you want. But there are some different criteria and some people will still call me a pescatarian. I don't really mind, but I do only eat fish. And recently, so about 10 weeks ago, I stopped eating fish for a while. And this is going to sound super, super silly to some of you guys, but I actually went in for my last ultrasound because I am pregnant. I'm 8.5 months pregnant right now, so I'm pretty darn pregnant. But with my last ultrasound, I remember I saw the baby and I saw its bones, because in the ultrasound, it's kind of like an x-ray, I guess. And it was so disturbing to me to see the baby's bones and realize that I eat fish, which is the only thing in my diet that contains bones. And I know that probably sounds super funny, but that's just how I thought. And when you feel the baby move in your stomach, at least for me, sometimes it kind of feels like a little fishy in there, because it's just like swimming around and bumping around. And so I just felt sick thinking about eating a fish after that. So it was like 10 weeks that I didn't eat fish, but then I started feeling really, really lightheaded and really weak all the time, and I couldn't really pinpoint what was going on. I had this weird feeling like in my head, in my brain, where it was like a fuzzy feeling, almost like a wave going through my head, and it's so scary and weird to feel because it almost kind of feels like I'm gonna pass out, and I couldn't really understand what was going on. First, I thought it was my allergy medication. Then I thought like I was dehydrated. So I had like all these theories about it. Excuse me, sorry about that. But I had all these theories about it. And then I started like troubleshooting, and I realized the one thing that I actually changed in my diet was that I wasn't eating fish anymore. And so I, for the first time in my life, started taking fish oil. And that was something that was suggested to me when I was a teenager, but I didn't believe in it, so I never took fish oil. But I'm pregnant and I have another person that I need to take care of. And so I decided to take the fish oil, and every once in a while I'll eat some fish, but I'm just kind of trying to minimize it as much as possible, just eating what I need to feel better. And I felt so much better since I started eating fish. So I know that's probably something that just works for my body and my lifestyle to make me feel healthy. I'm not recommending everybody do that. If you can be totally vegan and you feel healthy, that's great. Like, that's probably the ideal. But I wouldn't beat yourself up about it if you want to be a vegetarian and it's not working out for you. I definitely wouldn't beat yourself up about it. One of the things that you have to keep in mind is that any plant-based diet is going to be better than nothing. So that's the thing, is that you just have to learn and grow. My vegetarian journey has been since I was 11 years old, you know? So it's like some people have only been a vegetarian for 3 years and they're still learning and growing, and that's totally fine. So I definitely, if you're thinking about becoming a vegetarian, or if you've been a vegetarian for a short amount of time, just remember it's a journey. It's not like you're just automatically going to know exactly what your body needs and exactly how you can help the environment, because it's not going to work that way. It's going to take time, and it takes growth, and it's not something that happens overnight. So I would just keep that in mind. But that's it. That's pretty much my story of why I became a vegetarian, how. If you guys have any other questions, I can definitely fill you in with more details in the comments below. If you want to give me a little shout out, let me know like what you're thinking about what I've said so far. And then I'm going to move on to some misconceptions about being a vegetarian, because I've been a vegetarian for a very, very long time. I've heard pretty much everything there is to hear from somebody who's not a vegetarian about what it's like to be a vegetarian. So one of the things that people have said to me is that it's just a phase, which is kind of funny because especially for me, it's rooted really strongly in a belief system that causing suffering is not okay. And so it's like, that's not something that I would really say is a phase. Like, that's something that should be prioritized, I think, and like encouraged, especially like in young children. Like, you should want children to want to make the world a better place. You should want children to want to help out and lessen suffering in the world. And so it was really kind of crazy to me that people would have such a negative view or a negative way to comment on being a vegetarian when they found out I was. and they would just make all these comments like, you're not going to get enough protein. And that's the weirdest thing I think I've heard, is you're not going to get enough protein. Because if you really study into nutrition, most people, especially Americans, I don't know if you're an American, let me know where you're from in the comments below, because I think it would be really fun to know where my followers are from. But in American diets, we actually eat way too much protein. People think that we need so much friggin' protein, and it's really not necessary. And then also, people think that protein is like the most important thing, and people forget to realize there's other nutrients your body needs. We don't entirely live off of protein. We live off carbs, we live off fats, we live off vitamins. And so, excuse me, sorry. I don't have the corona. I have allergies. But yeah, so a lot of people, they just don't know about nutrition, and they want to make comments about things that they're not well informed of. And another thing that people kind of assume is that we're like religious or evangelical about being a vegetarian. And to an extent, some people are. I'm not. There are some of us who are. There are some of us who aren't. But like anything, you can't lump people into one particular box. And a lot of people that I've talked to when I say that I'm a vegetarian, it usually only comes up if they offer me something that I can't eat. Other than that, I'm not just like running around yelling at people and saying, I'm a vegetarian, like be a vegetarian too. That's not even my thing. But some people do need to know like my dietary restrictions if they're offering me something that I can't eat, and I don't want them to think that I'm being rude. I want them to know that it's just something that I don't eat. But some people will get offended and they're like, well, I'm not a vegetarian because of this, and I'm not a vegetarian because of this. And I'm like, that's totally fine. But now I feel like you're preaching to me, and I didn't ask for that. Like, I didn't come into your home or like come and hang out with you to get ranted on about why you decide that it's better to not be a vegetarian. Like, that's totally fine. Like, that's what you decided to do with your life. It's not what I decided to do with my life. I'm not pushing you. You don't have to push me, you know? So that's just kind of interesting. Another thing, like, people just kind of get defensive about it. Another thing that people kind of assume a lot of times is that we're tree huggers. I kind of get where that came from, because a lot of us, we care about the environment. That's part of the reason why we do it. But some people, it's just a health issue. Some people do it to lose weight. Some people do it just to be healthier in general. A lot of bodybuilders do it. A lot of distance runners do it because it's just healthier for their body. So it's not like we're all out there like freaking out and trying to get everybody to become a vegetarian because we are out there hugging trees and like acorns or something. I don't know. But we're not all like that. Like, we're pretty normal people. I mean, I'm kind of a dork and I'm kind of weird in general, but not because I'm a vegetarian. I'm just a weird, dorky person. But we're all different, and to just assume that someone is like a tree hugger or like, I guess like an extremist or crazy, it's just not really fair to people who this is just part of their life. Like, we're not trying to be weird or trying to be different or eccentric. Like, we just decide that this is something that we want for our life. And the last thing about misconceptions that I'd like to share with you is pretty important, especially if you're not a vegetarian and you're just catering to people who are vegetarians. We don't need special food. A lot of people think, like, if they invite you over and they find out that you're a vegetarian, like, oh my God, you're not going to be able to eat at my house. No, most of us vegetarians who've been vegetarian for a long time already know they should probably eat something light before they go to a social gathering, just because in case they don't have enough there for them. We're just kind of mindful of that. And it doesn't bother us. Like, we're used to that. That's something that we have always done because we just know from experience that, like, not everybody eats like us. So we'll make sure we take care of our bodies first before we go out, which is fine. Like, that's not an inconvenience to us. And a lot of times when you go to a gathering, you can eat plenty of what's there. Like, I usually just like eat sides. Some people will make like a barbecue or something, and then I'll just eat like the potato salad and the veggie tray and like fruit and stuff like that. So it really doesn't bother me at all. But some people, like, they're really, really concerned about you, which is great. Like, it's nice that they care. But you really don't have to worry too much about us because we're pretty adaptable. But in like another circumstance of that is just something that I personally experience. Sometimes you don't always have those options. And here's just like a funny story that happened to me last summer. I went to a barbecue, and I really genuinely think of a barbecue as being like a collective group of dishes, and then like hamburgers and hot dogs or ribs like thrown on the burner. But my husband's cousins are not like that. And I didn't know. I went over to their house, and it's literally like a caveman barbecue over there. They had nothing but meat and beer. That was it. I don't know if that's just like a guy thing or if it's just like their family, but it was just so funny to me because I'd never experienced that before. So yeah, if you're a vegetarian, I would suggest eating beforehand if you're gonna go to a gathering like that, just because you never know. But that's probably a rare occurrence. So most of the time there is probably gonna be something that you can eat and it's not gonna be a big deal. And yeah, so that's all I have for that part of my story time. Misconceptions. The next thing I have for you guys is some tips about being a vegetarian. One of the things that I keep mentioning is my health. So I would definitely study nutrition as much as possible if before you go into being a vegetarian. I was really young when I became a vegetarian, so I really hadn't learned that much about nutrition. But especially like if you're a teenager and you're growing, you want to make sure that you're getting all the nutrients that you need for your body. And so I would definitely study about different foods that have different vitamins and minerals and nutrients in it so that you know that you're eating a balanced diet instead of just cutting out foods you know you can't have. That's really, really important for you. And then another thing is to know what your body needs specifically. So maybe you have a goal in mind, like, oh, I'm going to be a vegetarian, or I'm going to be pescatarian or plant-based or whatever, and you have a specific thing in mind. Don't get super, super hardcore tied up in that goal, because yes, it's important to have something to aim for, but I wouldn't stress about it if you realize that's something that your body can't handle. If your body can't handle it, just troubleshoot. Like I said, being a vegetarian is a journey. It's been years and years and years, and I've changed my diet multiple times. So just think about how your body is and how you feel. And if you have to talk to a nutritionist or a doctor, do it. If you have to do research, do it. And do whatever you can, and don't be too harsh or too strict on yourself about it. Also be respectful of other people's choices. There's a lot of like disrespect in vegetarian communities where people just bash each other online because they're like, oh, eggs aren't vegetarian. And maybe someone did a recipe that included eggs and they were really proud of it and wanted to share it. That's your own personal choice. Some vegetarians eat eggs, some vegetarians eat honey, some don't. So don't be too harsh on yourself, but also respect other people's choices as well. With that being said, plant-based diet does reduce suffering for people, animals, and the environment because you are lessening the effects of food waste, you're lessening the effects of water waste when you have a plant-based diet, and every little bit helps. There are some people that I know who are Catholic who are vegetarian on Fridays. That one day of the week saves one day of the week that you could have been being wasteful and eating a meat-based diet, and you're not. And that little bit helps. Every little inch that you do is going to be helpful. So just keep in mind that you are reducing stuff. You are reducing. See, I'm still saying reducing. You are reducing suffering with every little step you take. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. I'm pretty much done. I'm going to let this dry because I probably want to do like a little bit more shading on here. But this is the beginning of the painting that I'm doing for this bag right here, and I'm probably gonna finish it off camera. Or if you guys want to see more videos like this, I can do other details on camera. It's up to you. Let me know in the comments below. For now, you have an awesome day. Let me know in the comments what you're doing creatively with your quarantine or your lockdown time. And yeah, that's it. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, follow, click the like bell, click the subscribe bell. You guys know the drill. Have an awesome rest of your day. Thanks. Goodbye.